Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Super Mario Bros. 3. In the last part we finished off World 5 and got into World 6, and now that same thing, but replaced the numbers with the one ahead of them. Starting off, we're heading into World 6-9, nice, where I'm going the long way by going to the pipe, which takes us into a half underwater, half above ground cave level that's, all things considered, still relatively short. But there's a shortcut in this level. If you enter it with either a tanuki suit or a raccoon leaf, in the area around the pipe I entered, you can get enough speed to fly, and you can fly over the giant blocks of ice to the right of the pipe. And on top of it is, I think, a couple of ice blocks, a Koopa Troopa or two, and a one-up mushroom block, I think. And then you just fall down right on top of the goal, just about. The main reason I didn't do it is because I forgot it existed. Sometimes when I see a shortcut like that, I can't remember if it's just an unintentional thing, like going above the screen in some NES games when you're platforming above it, or if it is intentional like the warp zones in Mario 1, or I can't remember which of the tower levels name it is in Shovel Knight, but the one where you can go above and use the propeller dagger to just kind of noom to the east across, ignoring the little rainbow statue. 610, though, has a lot of the ice blocks you can melt yourself, but we want to take our time here and manage to take out some of the blocks before stepping on the piece which I just revealed, because there is a pipe covered in ice blocks with munchers right here. The thing is about P-switches is that they sometimes turn enemies into coins too. The black munchers in particular that are otherwise invincible are the main factor of this. I believe in one of the NES versions there's also a bug that will turn the jellyfish enemies from those water levels into coins, but they don't function as coins, it's a graphics glitch if more than anything. So now we can enter this pipe to get ourselves, I think, the only set location hammer suit in the game? Maybe there's another. You might have noticed that graphic was a little wrong there. I believe in early versions, hammer suits and levels sometimes look like toads for some reason. Don't know why. And there it goes. God damn it. So the hammer suit is like the fire flower in that you press the B button to throw a hammer. It flies upwards in an arc, though, meaning it's a lot easier to hit enemies that are above you, or in some cases below you in the level design. And it is the best projectile, arguably, in the series, because it can kill just about everything. It can kill thwomps, it can kill boos, I think it can even kill stretches. It's rare, but it's extraordinarily useful. I would recommend saving it and holding on to them for dear life if you can. Especially if you find one in a toad house, save it for either a boss level you're super competent in, or, in my case, I tend to save it for the end game if I get one. Additionally, and this is an ability I often forget about because I don't usually have a reason to use it, if you duck while you're in the hammer suit, you actively go into the hammer suit's shell, and that protects you specifically from fireball damage. You're completely immune to it as long as I think you get hit from above, maybe even from the side. And I think they added a new feature to it in the Game Boy Advanced version with the e-reader card levels, where I think there's bricks that only it can break? Not exactly something you're likely to see, because, I don't think I ever knew anyone who owned an e-reader growing up. I remember seeing the cards every here or there, like a GameStop or something, but not exactly something you would see a lot, I guess is the way to put it. The only time I've ever really done anything with e-reader stuff over the years is, one I did a marathon playthrough on my own time of just 100%ing all the Battle Network and Star Force games in, mid to late college-ish. I think it was like year 3 of my 5 years in college. I ended up using the e-reader card feature on Visual Boy Advance to do the base fight that you can do in Battle Network 5 that's not normally there. I think I also used it for something in post-game, I can't quite remember. It's been, at a minimum, 4 years since I did that. Probably getting closer to 5 at the point this gets uploaded, honestly. because this is getting uploaded in 2023, I'm realizing right now. Here's hoping the world's still there. It is, because you're seeing this. Alright, World 6 airship. Not much to note about it, honestly. In fact, I think this is one of the few airship levels that literally has only inorganic enemies, like the rockets that fire off. It's a pure platforming airship, and in that regard, it's one of my favorites. But there's also very little in the sense of danger if you're accustomed at all to controlling Mario at this point. There is something to be said about a game's difficulty curve when you're just used to it versus when you're not. Because genuinely, my first playthrough of any game I play is always the hardest playthrough, even if I play it on a harder difficulty down the line, because I know what to expect, or I know how the systems work. A good example of this for me is Final Fantasy VII. When I was a kid, I hated the materia system because I couldn't understand it, but now that I understand it, it's very easy to break. The junction system's also a good example of this in 8. Either way, next Koopaling is Lemmy Koopa. He's the only one that doesn't jump when you step on him, instead he rolls away on his ball. Lemmy himself doesn't actually attack much with his wand, he just spawns in the balls themselves, and if you jump on them, the momentum gets cancelled and you don't get hurt. But they do start bouncing whenever you hit their sides or bottom, that's when you take the hit. He's sort of just an easier Wendy Koopa, overall. Even though he is higher up, which can be a little annoying, I guess. But it's also very easy to stun lock him in place if you're good at timing. It really feels like Wendy Koopa was meant to be placed here in the latter 4 of the Koopalings, maybe not the last 3. She's so weirdly placed at being the 3rd world's Koopaling. I don't get it. Either way, that's World 6. We're on now to the second to last world. And one of my favorite world themes in this series. It's for the dumbest reason, but it's just so fun. Alright, Toadstool, what you got for us this time? Greetings, I am well. Please retrieve the magic whistle hidden in the darkness at the end of the 3rd world. I have enclosed a jewel that helps protect you, Princess Toadstool. So that one also shouts out to the warp whistle in 1-3, which makes me think I'm right about the white block she was talking about in the one letter not being the one from 1-3, because why would you have 2 hinting towards the one whistle? I can't figure it out. Either way, welcome to World 7 Pipe Land. You like pipes, because there's a lot of pipes in these levels, including pipe mazes. But 7-1 is one of the most unique levels in the game in that, as you can see there's a bit of Pac-Man syndrome going on. If you go through the right side of the screen, you come back through the left. You need to use this to get around, and occasionally there's a level that will revisit this later on in this world that gets a little more complicated with it. But yeah, the overworld music in World 7. It's just the perfect stoner theme, there's no getting around it. I've laughed at that for years. I remember learning what stoners were at a very tender age from my brother while watching Bob-omb with him, and wondering, why are they doing this? Walter Peck from Ghostbusters is trying his best. I want a sequel to that movie nowadays, where it's Walter Peck's character coming back for revenge against those two in like a... not quite a slasher movie, but I guess a slasher movie if the slasher was incompetent kind of deal. Kind of like Scream, where he just attempts and attempts and he just can never get it to happen. That'd be funny. Unlike those, what if beloved character, but slasher movies now that we're getting, now that some characters are entering public domain, like, what is it, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey? Or something like that, and the Mean One movie that's coming out, soonish for me. Where it's Slasher, Winnie the Pooh, and Slasher Grinch. The Winnie the Pooh one's funny, at least in concept. I don't get why you're doing the Grinch. And something I didn't realize for years about World 7. The islands in it, I always thought were weirdly shaped. It's because if you look at the negative space, they make a pipe. Like the blue rivers are the shade line on the pipes. I genuinely didn't notice that until about 2 years ago. I'm just usually looking at the actual roads we have to walk on and seeing where Mario is. So I just never noticed. Random desert level. Now, I did use the frog suit for a very specific reason. It's not just because I wanted to challenge myself. Because underwater here, or under the ground here in the pipes, is an underwater section. And a P-switch. You can probably guess what's going on here. We got another hidden white mushroom house you can get here. In particular, you need to get all 46 of the coins here in the underwater level that are all directly gotten now. Doing this will spawn a white mushroom house that contains a P-wing, for memory. Additionally, we need to head underground to get to this section because you get here no matter what, but you need to hit these note blocks to progress, so you might as well go and get the coins on the way anyway. If you try to get across that gap in a single jump without the note blocks, you're not making it, plain and simple. Maybe you can if there's a way to get, like, P-speed here somehow. I don't think there is. I don't think there's enough space between pipes where there's enough ground to gain speed. But maybe you can. Yeah, it's probably, like, task exclusive, but maybe. The task for this game is a sight to behold, by the way. Honestly, like, any Mario game's tool-assisted speedrun is usually some of, like, the peak insane movement tech that you'll ever see, assuming it's not doing some sort of wrong warp, because then you're just in for a sight for different things. Also, there's a 1-up right here on top of this. I found this on complete accident years ago, and I've just never forgotten it was there for some reason. Isn't that how it almost always kind of is, though, with some amount of games in our life? There's always something you find on complete accident, and because you found it on complete accident, it left such an impact on you that you're like, oh, I'll never forget this. I know some of those for me will always be some of the things in Battle Network, like the occasional blue mystery data hidden behind something, or the codes for, I think, Battleship Challenge that are found in Battle Network 4? Like, there's one, I think it's Mail's number for Battleship Challenge in the Flowers at Dendome, I think? Somewhere about there. Alright, it was a P-wing. Good, I didn't remember that correctly. So I'm not the biggest fan of World 7 overall because there's the occasional level that's just kind of a slog, but I really like this next level because it's a revisit to an idea we saw back in, I think, World 4 or 5. We got a lot of Starmen and a lot of boxes that become Starmen if you hit them when you have a Starman active. So you can just keep the invincibility train rolling and not really rack up the points, but just feel like you're absolutely a madman. You feel like you're Colin Firth in the church scene in the first Kingsman, only without all the murder, but still with Freebird. And again, you probably can use the Starman to just farm the Lakitu Spinies for 1-ups, but I don't find the Starman to last long enough to really do that in this game. Like, I think almost any other 2D Mario Starman maybe lasts longer, except maybe New Super Mario Bros. Wii. It's been a while since I played that, I can't quite remember. So let's see, here in Pipe World we've had a pipe level, a desert level, a above ground kind of meadowy looking level that's right out of World 1. I wonder what the 4th level in the Pipe World's gonna be. If you guessed a water level because it's on top of water, you're correct. This is a really eclectic world. But it is a recommendable place to use a frog suit if you still have one. I probably should have saved the one I had for here, because it's definitely going to be more useful in the long run than one of those P-wings that I already have like 2 or 3 of. But what's really annoying about this particular water level is it's an auto-scroller. And we have a lot of weird cousins of the Cheep Cheeps that I'm not sure the name of. And the Lotus Flowers. The scrolling speed's not much of a threat here. What can be is how tight the quarters are with some of the enemies. So take this a little slowly. Remember to bait your bloopers around, and take your time. This next chunk's probably overall the tightest portion of it, though, because we got these jellyfish. I actually think I misspoke earlier. They're not in World 3. They only show up here, I want to say. Or maybe there are a couple in World 3. I don't quite remember. But these, in some versions, can be turned into coins with the P-switch, despite the fact that they still act as the jellyfish and not as the coins. You know what, though? It's going to bother me. What are those Cheep Cheeps called, rather? Spiny Cheep Cheeps. I'm underwhelmed, but I'm not surprised. It's like the Arrested Development meme. I don't know what I expected. I will say, there is also something very nostalgic to me about Mario's actual sprite in this game. It's just, it's a very, not expressive sprite. I think Mario World's sprite's easily the most expressive 2D sprite he's ever gotten, outside of, like, Mario & Luigi, Superstar Saga, and those games. But I remember distinctly, I, like many people, had a Perler Beads phase as a child, and I recreated many a Mega Man sprite in that, as well as a couple Mario 3 sprites. I remember distinctly taking a vacation with my family down to the town we used to live in Florida before we moved up north to New England. And I made the Heart sprite from Super Mario Bros. 2. I think it was specifically the All-Stars version of that Heart sprite that you get to boost your health up a little bit. I had to leave it on the kitchen counter for about a week because my mom didn't want to get the, what's it called, the iron out to do that with. And honestly, I probably wouldn't have either if I was her. Because we had shit to do and planes to catch and a 6-hour drive after a 3-hour flight. Ugh. I hate traveling. Getting a little personal here, but I'm not a guy for traveling. I like the destinations. I hate the actual traveling. I get motion sick basically wherever I go. Car rides for too long? Yep. Boats? Yep. Planes? Yep. Trains? Haven't tried those yet. Actually, after graduation from college, my brother and I were supposed to take a train down to New York for about a week and a half. But I graduated from college in May of 2020. We didn't go to New York. I think you can figure out why. Alright, World 7-5 here is a bit of a weird maze of blocks and one-way passages that you can get trapped in by invisible coin blocks. So you need to kind of play this a little slowly in order to not get trapped. If you know where the coin blocks are, you can try to make some preventative jumps. Also, there is a one-up hidden right here. But this can be a level where you can lose a little bit of progress if you're not careful. Like right here, you basically need to come over on the lower section of this first to make that bridge. This is probably one of the few levels with a time limit if you're on a first playthrough and checking every pipe can be a genuine threat, which, hey, rare. If there's anything I do really like about things like Mario Maker, it's that they make levels where the time limit is an actual mechanic and not just sort of an antiquated thing from arcade days, really. Like, the only other time I can think of where they make it an actual mechanic is, well, New Luigi U, which... Single player, that game is great. Multiplayer, not so much. But now for a unique level type that's only found here in World 7. You might see that Piranha plant up on the top of the screen. There are, I think, 2 or 3 of those located throughout the world. And they act sort of like the... Ooh, another hammer suit. I will take that. They act like the desert stage back in World 2. Where the moment you touch them, you're sent into a smaller level that's sort of more of a gimmick level for the world, more than anything. And a word of advice if you want to make it really easy. Before you go into any of them, use a Starman from your inventory. You probably have at least stock up of 4 or 5 if you're not using them a lot. And they're going to make these levels a complete joke, because each of them are very short. We get this one done in this video, even. These levels have a bunch of piranha plants and pipes and a bunch of munchers that alternate between one pipe state to another. And I'm basically already done the level with that much done. But with that, at the end of every level you get a chest that I think usually contains like a fire flower or something? Oh, this one has a P-wing. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 7, we are finishing up World 7, I think, and getting into the final world of the game. See you guys then.